So let's talk about this. Was on MSNBC, Adam Smith saying we are losing our constitutional republic. And meanwhile, the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, has effectively dissolved the United States House of Representatives. I spoke with several Republicans, including Chairman Mike Rogers, today to talk about, quote, okay, we need to have hearings on this. You know, the House Armed Services needs to exercise oversight, talking about some of the moves by Donald Trump. And there are many Republicans, including Rogers, who agree with that. But we're not in session, so we can't do it. So we're going to do it. So the president just gets to do what he wants. I mean, look, the whole Nazi analogies are always troubling. But, you know, that was one of the steps, is the parliament or the Reichstag or whatever it was sort of pushed out of existence and didn't have any oversight. I don't think Donald Trump cares if the government comes back into, and that we're shifting, of course, talking about the shutdown, but I don't think he cares if the government comes back into session. He's just going to rule by fiat if they don't. And Johnson has hobbled our democracy. I don't think there's any other way around looking at that. There not once has this Congress, even if it's with the same party, I remind people that it was the Republicans in the House and the Senate who pushed Nixon out. I'll remind people that, and in fact, when they said, look, you don't have the votes, Mr. President, that's when and it was his own people who came to him and said that's when he issued his resignation. There has been plenty of examples. The Democrats always push against their president, so they eat their own whenever possible. But I also remind people that on the flip side of that, when Congress works together, when they actually work together, they can get things done that are very helpful to the American public. The last time we saw it is something that the Democrats mentioned once and then forgot about. But that $1 trillion infrastructure bill was a bipartisan effort. So when the Republicans and the Democrats work together, it's for the betterment of the country. But if you cease to work for the American people, I don't understand how it is that you can stand there and tell me that you represent the American people because you're doing bupkis for them. Mark?
In the more than 3 decades that I've been here in D.C., this is clearly the most ineffective and absent Congress that has ever existed. You could have differences of opinion when the Republicans were in control and you didn't like the legislative agenda. You could have different opinions when the Democrats were in control and you didn't like the legislative agenda. But I have never seen, and we have already seen in the last 10 or so years, that the effectiveness of Congress has diminished each year in the sense of how many bills that they've been able to pass because they become so much more polarized. And that's a separate topic that we can talk about because that's going to impact, and no doubt we will in future podcasts as gerrymandering is happening more and more inside the states. That's going to even polarize even further congressional seats to keep it in one party only. But this is even where I think Speaker Johnson's going to go down in either one of the greatest authoritarianists as he takes power and joins the Trump administration at some point in time, or one of the worst, or could be both actually, greatest authoritarian, worst Speaker of the House, because he's effectively pushed out and shut down his own party, his own members of Congress who can't do the job, who want to do the job. And because Congress now is just completely absent. And if you don't have, you can essentially pull the rug out from the other chamber by shutting down your chamber, because it's a bicameral chamber. You have to have both to be able to pass laws, right? We all learned that from the cartoon back in the 1970s, even though that's not entirely accurate as to how they described how a bill becomes a law, but at least not from a realistic standpoint. Nonetheless, the basics were there, and this has been destroyed. Johnson has absolutely destroyed the independence of the House of Representatives and the effectiveness. And it's not just against Democrats. He's done it to his own party. At some point in time, you got to think they're going to rise up and remove him, but it's certainly not anytime soon.